House Joint Resolution 379, application for a convention of the states. This has a referral to rules if it passes out of J1, and also Representative Waddell will be presenting the bill. Floor is yours, Representative Waddell. Welcome to Judiciary 1.
Thank the chair, and I appreciate you getting both these bills up on the calendar that deal with convention of states. Friends, in 1787, the Constitution Convention presented its results that became our charter of our federal government. 1789, it actually went into effect. And what we're dealing with here is one of the 7 articles that comprise the original Constitution. And Article 5 describes 2 ways, 2 methodologies by which our federal Constitution can be amended. One is by Congress, and the other is by what would be considered a convention of states to propose amendments. And what this bill does here, it helps North Carolina join the other 19 states that have already accepted and passed this resolution word for word. It has 3 components to it. One is to provide term limits. And some of you may remember from last year, the House and the Senate did pass a House joint resolution calling for a convention of states just to deal with term limits. It passed both the House and the Senate, is enacted now. So term limits would be one part of this. The other would be imposing fiscal restraints upon the federal government. And the third item would be, I've done it so much, I can't even remember the third one.
It's called a senior moment.
I'm glad I'm doing it with you.
I'm right there with you.
I'm sorry. And put some restraints upon the federal government's power and reach. That's what it is. So it's term limits, fiscal restraints, and the power and reach of the federal government. So this is something that has been in the Constitution, this Article 5 methodology from the very beginning. This is not something that was added on recently. This is not a novel idea. This is not something that we just pulled out of our hat. This is something that was embedded in the original Constitution in 1787. And it was designed to give the states an opportunity to put in corrections to the national government by way of amendments if the federal government was becoming rather obtuse and not paying attention. So this is something that we as state legislators, I want you all to appreciate this. We have the power to initiate amendments being made to the Constitution. We don't have to sit by and wait for Washington to get it right. We actually have a role here. And I think it would be legislative malpractice if we did not, at this stage of the game and the condition our nation is in right now, I think it would be legislative malpractice if we did not rise up and seize every possible opportunity and means by which to control what seems to be an increasingly out of control federal government. You know, in 2020, our national debt was $24 trillion. How much is a trillion? How much is a billion? A million. Well, 1 million seconds ago was about 11 days. 1 billion seconds ago was about 30 days. And 1 trillion seconds ago was 32,000 years ago. Our national debt has grown from 24 trillion in 2012-20 today to 36 trillion. Now, if you think that's sustainable and that's not a problem, well, you're living in a fantasy world. That is a problem and it has to be addressed. And we can utilize the path of Article 5, Convention of States, to propose amendments to rein in the out of control spending of the federal government. So I'm going to cut it short because I see time is chasing after us right now. Be happy to try to answer any questions at this point.
Thank you for the presentation. Any questions or comments by a member of the committee? Representative Jones, you're recognized for a question.
Yes, thank you. Maybe a couple questions, not long.
Well, you're recognized for a couple of questions, 2 questions.
Thank you. Yes, sir. First question is, if this convention went forward, would they be limited to pre-stated purposes and just those subjects?
Yeah.
Representative Waddell.
Thank you. Yeah, good question. I appreciate that, Representative Jones. What determines the call, the business that can take place in a convention to propose amendments, is what is in the original resolution. And that's why what we have are those three items. See if I can remember them now. Term limits, imposing fiscal restraint, and reducing the power and scope of the federal government. Hey, how about that? Is that good? Yeah. All right. And so by having the same identical items in your resolution as 19 other states, once we get to 34 states with the same resolution language, it would become binding in the convention we get underway.
And
Yes,
my
sir.
second and last question
Yes, sir.
is,
You're recognized.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Would if have all three of these subjects been tried in Congress and failed, and that's why you want the convention, because they didn't even act on it or attempt to act on it, they just ignored it. I'm asking, that's a question, not a statement.
Representative Rydell.
Thank you. Another good question. If it's been tried by Congress, it hasn't succeeded. Whether a balanced budget amendment, we keep waiting for it, no sign of it, but there have been numerous of these resolutions to propose an Article 5 convention of states to balance the budget. I prefer the better language of just reducing the size and cost of government. Okay, so there's been numerous ones that have been brought forth, nothing concrete. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be talking about this. And I think that's part of the problem. Many of us are concerned that we seem to be dillying and dallying while we are going over a fiscal cliff.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments by a member of the committee? Representative Sheets-Felt.
Motion when appropriate, Mr. Chair.
All right, so any other questions or comments by the committee? Seeing none, now's the appropriate time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Move for a favorable report for House Joint Resolution 379
Go ahead.
with a referral to rules.
That's the motion before us. Any discussion before we vote? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Ayes have it, receive a favorable report. Now we will go to House Bill 214, Faithful Article 5 Convention Act, Commissioner Act, referral to rules. We're running out of time, but Representative Rydell, you are recognized to present that bill.
Okay. Real quick, this provides some language to put guardrails in place for anybody who is selected by their state to be a commissioner at an Article 5 Convention of States to propose amendments. You'll see everything from describing the oath they need to take to a penalty if they violate that oath.
Thank you. Any question or comments by the committee? Seeing none, do I hear a motion? Representative Sheets-Felt, you are recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Move for a favorable report for House Bill 214 with a referral to rules.
That's the motion before us. Any discussion before we vote? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. All opposed say no. Ayes have it. Not a lot of enthusiasm either way on that. The ayes have it, receive a favorable report. Thank
Chair.
you.
Thank you, committee.
The last bill to be heard in the time we have left will be House Bill 976, Uniform.
And just like that, our Article 5 application has passed through the North Carolina House Judiciary 1 Committee on a voice vote, as has our 34 Ready Bill, HB 214. Both just passed through the North Carolina House Judiciary 1 Committee on voice votes with very little discussion. And I get the sense that that is a function of the fact that they have very little time left. We have crossover coming up on Thursday in North Carolina. And as you may have heard, we do still need to get our application and the 34 Ready Bill through the Rules Committee. That is a required formality in North Carolina. So good news for today. It was a little bit nerve-wracking. Andrew, thanks for joining us. What are your thoughts after watching that?
Well, my thoughts are that was way too quick. I mean, that's a luxury we usually don't get, a quick hearing and then a positive result. So I'll take it. That was really good. And I love Representative Riddell, and he's always got great examples for why we need to act and why we need a convention. This time he talked about how a million seconds was 30 hours ago or 3 days ago, however many it was. And then a billion is like 30 days. And then a trillion is like 32,000 years. Such a great way to wrap your mind around the level of debt that we have. So I guess he stunned them, Rita, because no one objected at all to having a convention of states resolution. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. Representative Dennis Riddell, our longtime sponsor in the North Carolina House and real champion for Convention of States, did a great job. He kept it short and sweet. He needed to. Obviously, this committee is in a hurry today, but he just briefly outlined the process. He emphasized that if North Carolina passes this application, it would be joining 19 other states who have passed applications for an Article 5 convention to propose constitutional amendments just on 3 topics: imposing fiscal restraints on Washington, limiting federal power and jurisdiction, and setting term limits for federal officials and members of Congress. He said, we don't have to sit by and wait for Congress to act. And I love, Andrew, when he said, I think it's not legal, legislative malpractice if we don't act. And he pointed out, as you said, how the national debt just continues to grow as one example for why this is so urgently needed. He did a great job. There was only, I think, just one question from Representative Jones, a Democrat on the committee. He was asking about whether the subject of the convention could, in fact, be limited. And Representative Riddell just pointed him right back to the language of not only this application, but those of the 19 other states that have passed this, which do limit the subject matter for proposed amendments to those 3 topics we just outlined. So that was a great hearing. It doesn't get much better than that, just short, sweet, and got the result we wanted.
That's right.
So, Andrew, next up in North Carolina is the Rules Committee. I want to point out we're not sure how that committee hearing will go. A couple of interesting things to point out today. One is that, as we saw, they weren't taking public testimony today, even though this is the first committee hearing in North Carolina this year. Again, I think it's just a function of how short they are on time with crossover coming up on Thursday. So there was no public testimony today, but I still want to give a shout out to our amazing North Carolina grassroots team, because make no mistake, they have been working hard behind the scenes to get to this point. And then the second thing I'll say about this committee is that in North Carolina, they have members of leadership in the House serve as what they call ex officio members of the committee. So they can attend the committee meetings if they want to, and if they're there, they get to vote. So that does work in our favor in North Carolina, where leadership is in favor of Convention of States. So that's all I got. We just have to stay tuned, and we'll keep you posted on when the Rules Committee will take up our Article 5 application and 34 ready bill, and then send them on to be calendared for floor debate. Andrew, closing remarks?
Yeah, this is great to see a quick, like you said, a quick hearing and a great result. We'll just keep the next committee hearing in prayer, and we'll just wait. Until then, we got a country to save. Great to be with you, Rita. Great to be with our audience. See you next time.